Where do we even begin with the 2022 Royal Rumble? So much to talk about. Ronda Rousey's return, Brock getting screwed, Paul Heyman turning on Brock then winning the Men's Royal Rumble, Seth possibly turning babyface, Molly Holly being attacked by Nikki ASH. The list goes on and on and on, and we're going to dive into all of it right now.
This is WWE superstar Drew McIntyre, and you're listening to the WWE Podcast.
The one that everybody wants, me.
Becky Lynch is going to WrestleMania. Claymore!
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. This is my iron. You're going to acknowledge me.
And the 2022 Royal Rumble has concluded. We are now officially on the road to WrestleMania, as if we weren't already. I guess now it's official. And there's just so many things that you could dive into, so many different topics that you could start with. I mean, I should probably start with the fact that Dana Brooke was eliminated from the Rumble, and the shock waves that sent through the wrestling world. I mean, that shook the wrestling industry to its foundation, I think, was Dana Brooke being eliminated from the Rumble. I mean, I don't even know where to start with that, so we'll spend at least an hour on Dana Brooke and her elimination from the Rumble. And if you can't sense my sarcasm, well, I guess you do now. So there again, guys, thank you for joining me. This is a massive show here as we're going to cover the Royal Rumble from end to end. And I'll be joined with a co-host on Tuesday night with Raw and a Rumble wrap-up. And then Wednesday, I'm assuming you guys are going to just hammer me with voicemails and your thoughts on the Rumble. There's just so much to get to. I apologize to those on TikTok. I didn't have a chance to go live. It was a very up and down night with babies crying and things, so it was difficult for me to kind of navigate the waters there. I would have been going on and off live stream at a really annoying rate, so I do apologize there. However, I did have a lot of fun listening, or rather watching, the Discord chat and participating at times in the Discord chat. Some of you guys are just hilarious, and it's fun to interact with you while the pay-per-views are going, or rather the live events, premier live events are going on. So thank you to everybody. If you want to join us on Discord and participate live in the chat, then all you have to do is sign up for Discord. It's $1 a month to start, and you get a Discord server link, and it's one of the perks of it, as well as going ad-free for every episode that we have. So there's one, and Apple Podcasts also offers the same thing. I can't not start my show without plugging my monetization efforts, right? So anyway, everybody, thank you for joining me here. We're going to dive in, and where do we start? Anybody got any thoughts? Let's just start with probably the number one. I mean, there's several number ones that you could make a case for beyond Dana Brooke being eliminated from the Rumble, which is just, again, earth-shattering. The other thing is, I think I'm going to start with Ronda Rousey, because it has been speculated for many weeks now, and really heated up over the last week, about Ronda Rousey returning to the WWE. We had several major wrestling outlets like The Observer with Dave Meltzer, and regardless of what you think about Dave Meltzer, he did get it right this time about Ronda Rousey, who was imminently about to return, and there's a scheduled huge match between her and Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania this year. And if you watch the Royal Rumble, then I would assume that you would look at that and go, yeah, that looks exactly like where they're going. But before we get to where she's going at WrestleMania, let's talk about what happened. I mean, she comes out, and the crowd in St. Louis popped pretty hard for her, and I predicted that they would. While the crowd was soured on her towards the end of her run, 3 years ago, and rightfully so, and I think she's still better as a heel than a babyface. I think that the crowd was going to react in a positive way, because Ronda Rousey is such a huge star. She has adapted fairly well to the wrestling industry, at least in ring. Some of you may disagree with that, but I think given the fact that she didn't grow up doing this and she had a short period of time to learn this industry, she has done a decent job, regardless of what I think about her personally, which is that she is a narcissistic egomaniac, that I think she has adapted well from a professional standpoint. And yes, she does a lot of the kind of angry toddler, happy toddler deal, where she she always has that mean face on, and she knows that's her money face. Like she almost like she's always posing, because she knows that mean face is just so recognizable. And then she'll immediately break out into just sunshine and rainbows. Like, You'll see it on this. I guarantee you'll see it on Raw tonight, where she'll come out with the mean face, and then she'll stand in the ring and she'll have smiley face. I mean, that's just what there's no happy medium. It's angry. I want to destroy the world, or I just won the lottery and I'm smiling because my whole life is perfect. There's no medium. It's bizarre with her. Beth Phoenix is also I know a bit off topic here, but Beth Phoenix, I think, has really over emoted. I shouldn't say I love. I like Beth Phoenix in the ring. She's fine. But Beth Phoenix, boy, she just has over emoted her angry face to a point of cartoon. I mean, whenever she comes out and she is standing on the ramp or even in the ring with her hairdo and everything, she's like snarling. No one ever told her to like tone it down. It's a little much, it's like she watched some kind of kids movie over the weekend and she's like, yeah, that's the face I want to make. It's too much. Beth Phoenix's mean face is way too much. It's even worse than Ronda Rousey. But that said, Ronda Rousey makes her return to a big reaction. Ronda Rousey immediately eliminates several competitors, and she's throwing her punches like she would in MMA, except actually not truly trying to hurt her competitors, her coworkers, so to speak. But boy, would I love to see Ronda Rousey turn heel. I think it's deserving. She'd be a better fit, and maybe the fans turn on her fairly quickly, because I haven't forgotten what she's been like on social media and what she was like towards the end of her run in 2019 or whatever it was. I haven't forgotten. I think that she was insufferable on the mic, and she was making fun of millennials and who like avocado toast and exposing the business in a very embarrassing way on Twitter and just making a fool of herself, but also trying to insult the fans. I haven't forgotten that. Have you? No. We're supposed to just embrace her with open arms because she's what? Like she was a former MMA star, and because she's a good-looking woman, I don't care, But nonetheless, so I would never cheer her at this point. However, I get the star power is still there, and it makes headlines, and I can't believe it's already been 3 years since she's been back or has left. But it looks like they are headed towards Charlotte Flair and Ronda as it came down to those two, and Charlotte Flair ends up losing pretty quickly at the end to Ronda, who just kind of tossed her over the top in a, I don't even know what you call it, but Charlotte, visibly angry. Looks like these two will meet at WrestleMania. I do wonder if it's going to be one-on-one, though, or if somehow, some way Sasha Banks gets herself involved, or if it is somehow one-on-one. I don't know if that actually would be something that they're looking at. I mean, Ronda Rousey has enough star power. Charlotte has enough star power to make it feel like a massive main event. And, I know that Ronda's going to be coming to Raw tonight, and Becky and Ronda will be going face-to-face, so that'll be a lot of fun to bring back those memories and what could have been in a one-on-one match. However, couldn't you see another triple threat at WrestleMania? I mean, do they dare go back to the triple threat from WrestleMania 35, where it's winner take all and Becky two belts comes back? I mean, I hope not. Lord, I hope not. I don't need another one of those. I'm still angry about it 3 years later that it should have just been one-on-one with Ronda and Becky, but have been singing that tune for 3 years. So Ronda and Becky are going to come face to face tonight. We'll have Becky call Ronda Rousey Ronnie, because that's what she does. She can't say Ronda. She has to say Ronnie, which is annoying. Even she did it as a babyface, which was annoying. As a heel, it's going to be worse. But there's going to be some fun interactions there. I'm really looking forward to that. And I ultimately think it'll be Ronda versus Charlotte, though, because I don't think they want Ronda Becky, which doesn't make sense because Ronda and Becky, I think, have way better chemistry. The thing is that, I guess that with Becky as a heel, it's a little bit different. We also have Bianca Belair floating out there, so that's also a possibility of Sonya Deville. Bianca Belair, who is somehow not in the main event at this point. That may change, which is why I don't believe that they're going to do a straight up one-on-one for both women, the women's championship matches at WrestleMania. I just don't see it. I foresee them throwing in at least a triple threat somewhere. They can't help themselves. So that's what I imagine happening at WrestleMania. Tonight's going to be interesting, no doubt about it. It's going to have a kind of an electric feel. It's like the appetizer to the Raw after WrestleMania. That's what it feels like. It's just like the runner-up. It's going to be a lot of fun. So overall, though, the Women's Royal Rumble, I guess I'll start there since that's the topic I'm kind of talking about anyway. Beyond Ronda winning and returning, I thought that the Raw Women's or the the Women's Royal Rumble was good. I thought it was. I don't know if it was better than last year's. Last year's ending was better between Bianca Belair and Rhea Ripley, but this year had so many different elements. It was so many different stories told, and I thought it was good. I really did. Now, when you look at the people that were involved, you had Michelle McCool. She comes back once a year. We have Brie and Nikki Bella that literally no one cares about come back, and they have haircuts, matching haircuts. And what we had, Brie turn on Nikki again for the second year in a row. No one cares. Mickie James, she's just, again, kind of a forgotten women's competitor. She's one that was fine 12 years ago, and they just keep bringing her back and then don't do anything with her. So she made an appearance. Alicia Fox, who, is about as interesting in the ring as I would be inside of the ring. Alicia Fox is, outside of, she's so tall, and look at how long her legs are. Like, outside of the sexual element of Alicia Fox that a lot of people talk about, I don't care about that at all, but she has really nothing else going for her. She's as crazy as a fox. Wow, that's about all her gimmick was about. So there's that, and then there's the legend of Summer Rae. Guys, the legend Summer Rae. They even had the balls to say it again during her intro. I think they did it out of kind of trolling the fans. There's no other way to look at that. They said something along the lines of, the legendary returns continue, and Summer Rae came out. Come on. There's no way they were serious there. Sarah Logan made her return in a different look and got somewhat of a reaction, more of a, what is she doing here reaction, not a, whoa, I can't believe she's back, this is awesome, just kind of like a, what? Maybe that was the forbidden door. If Sarah Logan is the forbidden door, what? We don't know who officially is the forbidden door pick, if there was one or is one. Maybe it was the men's side with Shane McMahon. We'll talk about that later too. So Sarah Logan comes back, had a decent showing, ends up reuniting with Liv, but gets eliminated after Liv gets eliminated as well. So Lita, though, had a nice showing. Lita got a really big reaction. I was hopeful that it would eventually maybe lead to a Lita versus Charlotte at WrestleMania match. Now with Ronda Rousey in the mix, I feel like Lita is kind of gone until next year again. Maybe they'll bring her back again. So I don't foresee Lita showing up again until next Rumble season. And then we get Molly Holly, who gets attacked by Nikki ASH. And I loved it because so many people made analogies and parallels to Molly Holly in her career and the Mighty Molly gimmick. And then we get Nikki ASH, who attacked her upon her entrance and said there can only be one superhero. So maybe it's Molly Holly versus Nikki ASH at WrestleMania. I'd love it. I think that'd be the best thing for both. It'd bring relevance back to Molly Holly. I think she could put on one more match. Nikki is easy to work with, and it's the evil villain versus the wannabe, the wannabe superhero versus the one that actually made it work, which was Molly Holly. And so there was that. I enjoyed that. So this is the report. According to CNET, I'm reading a review on CNET. Lita got the biggest pop of the entire night. I don't know about that. Ronda Rousey was pretty big, but Lita is a close second. If you're going to rate pops, Lita, boy, there's got to be a case to be made for Lita at doing something at WrestleMania. There's got to be a case for it, even if it's not in a championship match. Based on her reaction and the crowd's connection still with her, I really think that Lita may be a part of WrestleMania. I know I said that she's going to be back at Rumble season next year, and that could be the case. But the reaction she got was, it may sway some people's minds, and maybe Lita herself, if she's interested in doing something at WrestleMania. So the number 1 and number 2 entrants were Sasha and Melina, who Sasha was in some Sailor Moon themed gear. I thought it was very distracting. And here's the one thing I'll say about Sasha. She's an excellent performer. She is a legend in the making, a true legend in the making, not a Summer Rae legend. And to me, though, there's been one drawback from Sasha Banks. Not even on the mic, because Sasha Banks on the mic has kind of a weird promo delivery, and she always has to have her insufferable laugh, even when she's a babyface, which I think it kind of brings things back to a heel role, and it's insufferable to listen to her at times. Her voice is not very endearing, but that's not even the problem with Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks, to me, has a problem that is easily fixed, but she won't do it. And I don't think the creative team will do it, or Vince. And that's her overt sexuality. Like, Sasha Banks at times wears outfits that are completely they're totally unnecessary. I understand she's trying to show off her body. We're feminine, but we're also powerful. It's like, well, yeah, fine. But when you throw your body in my face where you're wearing like things that just are super distracting, I gotta go on the side of, you need to tone it back a bit, because I think that her outfits at times where she's showing like 80% of her leg, except, like the areas that you can't. I don't know. I've had this thing with Sasha because she's such an attractive woman, and she knows she is, that she works on that, and her outfits also play on that. But that's also her biggest detractor, because I think at times too much focus is put on that. Now, I'm not saying the storylines do. I'm not saying that the cameras zoom in inappropriately or anything, or that the announcers drive that narrative. Nobody's driving that narrative. It's kind of an unspoken narrative, especially from the male audience. I can speak firsthand. That when I see her, it's like, oh man, she's a big star. You realize the importance and magnitude of everything she's accomplished and how good she is in the ring. There's never any question about that. But her outfits at times, and her movements, and the things that she does in her entrance, I don't know. I think it's a distraction, and it pulls back from what women's wrestling should be at this point in its evolution. And that's about the wrestling and not accentuating bodies and showing off the sexuality. And I know people are going to say, well, she can be both. She can be a sexy, powerful woman. Yeah, except here's the problem. The scales are tipped way in the other direction right now for Sasha with the things that she wears. I don't know. Maybe nobody else feels this way. It's just super distracting for me. And I'm a married man, but I'm still human, and I can see this. I'm like, oh, that's a nice outfit, right? But almost to the point where I'm not paying attention to what she's doing in the ring, and just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm digging myself a hole here, but that's what I feel about Sasha. And her Sailor Moon themed gear didn't help. I mean, I liked it, but it was distracting. Okay, Melina comes out, and they actually called Melina a legend. And I tweeted this out. I said, boy, WWE is throwing around this legend label pretty loosely lately, aren't they? And they are. How can you claim Melina as a legend? In what way? What metric? What are we even defining legend as anymore? Just anybody that used to compete in the WWE? I mean, essentially, that's how they've redefined legend at this point. Melina is not a legend. She was part of M&M, Mercury, and Morrison. She was the manager of them, and she had some good moments, and she can do a split. That's her claim to fame. That's it. Melina can do a split, and she is an attractive woman. Okay. And she used to be part of M&M, a successful tag team in the mid-2000s. Cool. And that's it. I mean, Melina is decent in the ring, although she didn't have a whole lot of time in the ring this past Saturday night. But I'm just tired of them throwing around this legend label as if we're supposed to just accept it. Have we forgotten what legends are? Legends mean that... Let me tell you what a legend is, how I define a legend. An actual needle mover. Not just Roman Reigns' shirt, but a true one. And Roman Reigns, I think, is a legend in the making. I will say that. But legends. Let's start. Stone Cold, The Rock, Andre the Giant, Bobby the Brain Heenan, Paul Heyman, Brock Lesnar. Top of the top, The Rock, Kane, Taker, Triple H, Big Show. The list goes on. Even Goldberg, I would say, as much as I don't like him in the ring, he's a legend. I may not like it, but he is. That's just a fact. So facts don't care about feelings, as they say. So I think they have really got to tone down this legend nonsense. They're trying to make everything bigger than it is and to make everybody bigger than they are. But this is like way off the farm. I mean, to call Melina a legend, to call Summer Rae a legend is laughable. It's laughable. And it's no fault of Summer Rae and Melina. This is the narrative they're driving, and I think it's a bunch of nonsense. And it's to me diluting what legend means. Now I know she was a 5-time women's champion. I understand that, but again, just because you hold a women's championship multiple times doesn't automatically qualify you as a champion or as a legend. There are many women's champions out there that have been women's champions. Just because you hold it doesn't automatically qualify you to be a legend. Legend is an elite status. So, all right. Let's see here. Let's read CNET's reaction to this. And then I'll get into Naomi and Deville, who actually spilled into their rivalries clearly continuing, and I don't mind that. So here's what they rated it. CNET rated it 3.5 stars. They said it was an okay Rumble. A lot of the action was sloppy, as has been the case with most women's Rumbles, a lot of which is due to much of the field being made up of wrestlers who only perform once every few years. There were long stretches of time where it felt like not much was happening, though it was nice to see some familiar faces, and of course, Ronda's return. Ronda looks out of practice, and her offense wasn't as impactful as you may have hoped. There were some submission holds and a lot of punches in the corner, but many of her strikes look underwhelming. But she's a super athlete and a performer, so she's almost assured to get back into form in a quick period of time, and she absolutely has a star aura, which is the most important thing. So, yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. The Rumble, men or women's, is sloppy. The Rumbles by the very nature, are sloppy because they're Royal Rumbles. There's not a lot of it is scripted and on the in-between stuff. Eliminations are done in the boardroom on paper, but the in-between stuff, especially when they're just like holding people in the corner until they're waiting for that next person to come out, or you have like 5 people trying to eliminate one person, and for some reason they can't just lift them over the top rope. It's that kind of stuff that's just, it's the suspend your disbelief moment. There's a lot of that. But yeah, I mean, I'd agree that 3.5 stars is fair. What do you guys think? 3.5 stars? Less? More? And this again is out of 5. So CNET, I think, gives a fair assumption or a fair analysis here. Now on to Naomi and Sonya Deville. I saw on SmackDown, as I haven't really had a chance to talk about it. On SmackDown, we had Naomi versus Sonya Deville. Finally, and Sonya Deville gets revenge with a rear view and then a moonsault, and she calls it retribution. Again, how is 5 months of torture and putting up with her crap? How is a single, your ass to her face? How is that retribution? Tell me. That's fair? No, she should be bloodied. She should have her neck in a chair, and Naomi goes to snap her neck. That, after 5 months, that would be what the fans want to see. Honestly, I think that would show a nice, brutal, vicious side of Naomi, because we haven't seen it yet. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take to push Naomi over the edge, because she loves her mean face. Boy, she loves her mean face, doesn't she? She thinks that's really my retribution, is look how mean I look at you. Oh, look, my eyebrows are down. I am just a mean looking person. I told you were going to get it. And yeah, she got a victory over Sonya, and she eliminated Sonya from the Royal Rumble after Cameron, the other Funkadactyl, who used to be with Brodus Clay. Remember that whole thing? Cameron returned. Boy, she looks in great shape too. And Cameron, after Sonya was on commentary, eliminates Cameron, and then Naomi eliminates Sonya. And at that point, Sonya comes back later in the match to eliminate Naomi. Now again, every year there's always somebody who's already eliminating somebody who's in the Rumble. I have accepted this by the narrative that if the person who's a legal competitor in the match ends up going over the top rope and onto the floor, that's an elimination, regardless of how or who does it. So I would accept that narrative, because otherwise, if I look at this and say, how can an eliminated person eliminate a competitor who's legal? It doesn't make sense. So I'll go with my former narrative, and then I won't lose my mind. But it continues this program with Naomi and Sonya, and I'm not sad about it, because it looks like finally we're getting some physicality in this matchup, and hopefully Naomi goes to literally snap her neck. That's what I want. That's what's needed. It's not I hope I get a roll up on you and I get a victory. I win. We're even Steven now. That's what I feel like Naomi's doing. And I know she's the babyface, but it's time to show some fire. She's talking about all this glow. Well, where the hell is this glow? Turn the glow into fire, because that's what we need at this point. So if on SmackDown she goes back to hiding behind her suit, and Sonya or Naomi just standing there and looking mean, and you're going to get it, girl, all that stuff. No, that time is well over. It was way done. We're beyond that. It's time to start snapping necks. I know it sounds a little extreme, but it's true. All right. Let's get on to, we'll get to the men's rumble a little later. Seth Rollins beats Roman Reigns by DQ. Now, the most interesting part of this match, I think, by far, beyond the match being awesome, was Seth Rollins coming out to the old Shield music and the old Shield gear with the tactical vest, doing the same entrance, doing his kind of roll into the ring and playing with Roman Reigns' mind. And boy, do we see a whole lot of mind games in WWE. How many times, in how many matches do we hear the narrative being strung or sung by the announcers that, oh, they're playing mind games. It's mind games. It's mind games. It's messages. It's statements. I don't know where they come up with this lingo. They need to, again, pick up a thesaurus and use it. But for whatever reason, everyone's always playing mind games with everybody. Everyone's trying to get in the head of everybody. They can't come up with like an original way to tell a story. It always has to be those two things. But this makes actually sense here. If they were going to use it in any context, this actually makes sense. Where Seth is playing off of the emotions of what happened in the Shield. Seth comes out, and Roman's trying to like shake off what's going on inside his head. And I think he did a nice job of emoting that frustration without going overboard like Beth Phoenix. And Roman was struggling internally about what Seth did during that time, and Seth trying to play with Roman about, come on, we're brothers, and fist bumps. And the other thing I really liked, boy, this was such a good match from a psychological standpoint too. Just God, I hope they go at it again. Is when Rollins was laughing after Roman speared him. I think it was a couple times this happened. Roman speared him, and Seth he was down in pain, but still laughing. And I think that really got in Roman's head as well. And they just, God, they're so, they know each other so well, and they're actual friends in real life, that this helps. And Roman ends up losing because he would not break the hold of the guillotine. And after the match, Rollins was destroyed by Reigns with a chair. I mean, he hit him probably over 20 times with a steel chair. The chair was bent in half, essentially. And I think it did a couple things. While the crowd booed this, and I tweeted this out too, the crowd booed this because they wanted a real finish. And I know people at home wanted a real finish. But here's what this accomplishes by having this DQ. It accomplishes the fact that it puts Roman back into the heel lane. Okay. While we thought he was trending babyface and getting the reactions he was, I think this firmly now replaces him and corrects him back to the lane he should be, which I think is still a heel. There's a good babyface run on the horizon for Roman. Let's not get ahead of ourselves and put the cart before the horse. Let's get everything out of this run that we can, because this is not a common heel run. This is a once in a career run for Roman. So I hope that they continue to go down the path, and it is. So I think that established that. I mean, the crowd was booing the hell out of Roman at this point. And it also jiggered up some kind of feel-good nostalgia feelings for the crowd in attendance, where they were like, oh man, the Shield, we never thought we'd see this entrance again, and this is kind of cool, and it's not that obnoxious Seth. This is like, kind of the Seth that we remember, that we used to like. And so almost by default, you're rooting for Seth. And Roman's been champion for like 859 days. I think it's more like 500 some days. But so you're already kind of establishing Seth as a babyface without really doing it yet. But this, I think, might have put Seth back into the babyface role. I don't think he's going to come out and start being, pandering to the crowd. I think that's what really hurt him when he tried to turn babyface after he beat Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania a few years ago, and the crowd was just like, yeah, we're not having this. This doesn't work. So I don't think he would do that. And I still believe Seth is a better heel. But man, the sympathy that we're going to have for Seth and the revenge that we're going to want to see from Seth on Roman is going to be fun. Now, here's the other fly in the ointment is, well, wait a minute. We have now Brock, who's seemingly going to go after Roman, and Seth and Roman have not completed their program because of what happened with the beating of the steel chair on Seth. So there's a lot of moving parts that need to be cleaned up before WrestleMania. And the Elimination Chamber, which thank God they didn't rename to WrestleMania Chamber, they kept it Elimination Chamber in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia, is on February 19th. So we have 3 weeks until the pay-per-view or the premiere live event of Elimination Chamber, which they said is the final stop for premiere live events before WrestleMania. So that's great. We don't have to deal with a weird March pay-per-view, and I think that makes it a lot cleaner that you don't have to come up with another maybe mini story in between February and early April. Like, you can just have a long-term story arc going from Rumble, a quick stop in Jeddah for the Chamber, and then you have 6 weeks or so until WrestleMania in early April. So I like that. I like how there's only one stop. It's the two pay-per-views between Rumble and Mania is really, I think it was too much. And so this is it's a cleaner way to get to WrestleMania. And so I don't know what you guys think about that, but so this match anyway was really good. And here's, let's see what I want to read the analysis here of CNET, because CNET I think is a credible source. They said the action was very good, leaning towards great. I thought the ending was lame at first, but that's not a fair assessment because it absolutely worked. The crowd showered rain with a deafening chorus of boos, and WWE overuses screwy finishes, but this was a good one. I'm excited to see where this goes next, so mission accomplished, and they gave it 4 stars. And I said something similar. So, all right, let's continue on, and where do we dare go next? Let's talk about Edge and The Miz and Beth Phoenix and Maurice. So this match I didn't have a whole lot of expectation going into. I did mention that this is likely going to this match is likely going to revolve around Maurice and Beth Phoenix and the cat and mouse game, and it generally did, as well as a lot of the female on male violence, but men aren't able to retaliate because they're not allowed to, because PG and society. But that's a whole nother topic of just complete incompetence. But anyway, we have exactly what a lot of us expect, not just me, but Beth Phoenix trying to get her hands on Maurice. She finally does, but Maurice ends up dishing out some offense, and even dishes out offense on Edge. She did a Hurricane Rana on Edge, and honestly, pretty decently. I got to give it to Maurice. I didn't have a high bar for her going into this match, and she over-delivered for me. Now, having Edge and Beth Phoenix win made sense. The nice false finish of the skull-crushing finale was very convincing, and I thought Miz actually might take it, but there's clearly something bigger and better for Edge after this. I don't believe there's going to be a Maurice and Beth Phoenix one-on-one. This has been resolved. This is over. This is done. This is moving on to something else. Miz is going in a different direction. Edge is going in a different direction. They are splitting course. They are no longer on the same path. I mean, I hope not anyway. So I really don't know where this leaves Edge. I really have no idea. I mean, we'll get more of an idea as we roll onto Monday Night Raw, but I really have no clue. So as you're listening to this, I mean, Monday Night Raw may have already happened. Who knows? But yeah, this was a match that was good. I mean, we got a spear on Miz. We actually had Beth Phoenix hit a spear on Maurice, and it was fine. It was fine. Speaking of botches, going back one match to the women's match, a couple matches. The women's Rumble. Can Lita and Charlotte learn how to coordinate the twist of fate? Because Charlotte cannot take that move correctly. I don't know whose fault it is, but Charlotte botches. It looks like Charlotte's botching it every time. I don't know if it's on purpose. I mean, Charlotte can do everything else in the ring, but take a twist of fate, which is essentially just fall on your stomach, just fall flat, and she can't do that for whatever reason. So this was this match between Miz and Maurice and the great couple versus the it couple and Beth Phoenix and Edge. I think it was fine, and it did exactly what it needed to do, and I don't have any complaints. I mean, it was fine. It was fine. Doudrop versus Becky Lynch. All of us knew the outcome. I mean, like literally everyone knew the outcome. With this close to WrestleMania, and Becky Lynch on essentially a quote-unquote 3-year run, you're not going to have her lose at the Rumble with WrestleMania around the corner to Doudrop. Now, no disrespect to Doudrop, but she's been here for, the last 5 minutes. She's not that established yet. Her name's Doudrop. That doesn't help, but I think she's good in the ring, and she's good on the mic, and she does have something to give to the business, and she clearly has the it factor, and all props to Doudrop. I think that she is somebody that stands out because of her body type in a good way, and I think that's an asset, no pun intended. So that to me is where Doudrop will live is in her differentiation in visual and audible. There you go. Everything about her is just different, and that's good. Now, she may not be doing Hurricane Ranas and 450 splashes, but that she doesn't need to, nor do I want her to. So Becky Lynch wins here, and Doudrop in this title loss doesn't really lose anything. She hit the manhandle slam from the middle rope, essentially a super rock bottom. Was what that was, a rock bottom plus, whatever you want to label it as. And here's what CNET said, if you're interested in their take, and then I'll give my reaction to it. This was a solid but not excellent bout. It had several disadvantages and never got into a strong flow. Lynch is beloved by the audience, but she's still cast as a heel. That makes it inherently difficult for her opponents, who struggle to get the crowd behind them because the crowd really just wants to cheer Lynch. Making matters worse, Doudrop is by far the bigger of the two. It makes it harder to get sympathy when you're the giant facing the villainous David and Goliath. Got it. So, yeah, I mean, Becky Lynch wins clean. And she should. I think she should. She is right now the hottest thing in women's wrestling, arguably. I mean, you could argue Charlotte, you could argue Bianca, but she's in the conversation. And now you have her moving on. And she's going to come face-to-face with Ronda Rousey, maybe opening the show. I would actually open the damn show with Ronda Rousey and Becky Lynch. Why not? It's a perfect way to just hit the gas into WrestleMania season. So I'm really looking forward to this. And in fact, I predict that Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey will make a splash at the very beginning of Monday Night Raw. That's my thought. Now again, this to me was a match that it was exactly what I thought it would be. It was okay. It was in fact, I'd say it was slightly above average. I don't think it did anything to hurt anybody, and it really gave the nice rub to Becky Lynch, or rather Doudrop, who needed it, because they're trying to build stars. That's all this was about. Her title was never in jeopardy. So, all right. I already talked about Paul Heyman and his turn, which to me, let me just add some additional comments to that. First of all, the match between Seth Rollins and Roman I talked about earlier, but the Paul Heyman turn, him handing the championship to Roman, to hit Brock Lesnar with, I'll get to that match in a second. It didn't shock me. It just shocked me how quickly it happened. So let's talk about the Brock Lesnar Bobby Lashley matchup. This was a match that I was really excited for, and you could tell that they didn't even use real footage from the last 4 weeks of the build. They just created their own video package, which is one we saw a couple weeks ago, and I praised. That's how much that they're trying to avoid what the build looked like in real life. They did not do a good job building this, mainly because Brock Lesnar was in the kind of heelish, dismissive, I don't know who you are mode, which did not do anybody any favors. I know that's Brock. He doesn't know anybody, but it hurt the rival. It hurt the program overall. So that's where I draw the line. So it's amazing though that they had to use the video package and not use any real footage from the last 4 weeks to promote this match. And it worked very well though. I love the video package. Excellent video package. Maybe one of the best video packages of the year so far. I know we're only 2 months into the year, but now that said, this matchup between Bobby and Brock, I don't think was that good. In fact, it was disappointing. They had their collar and elbow tie up. It's a bit of a test of strength for the both of them. It was, it was like, okay, cool. We're getting the collar and elbow tie up. That's how you know this is going to be a long match. When they go right into kicks, punches, and power moves, the match typically ends quicker because they're trying to get their stuff in. But when it starts off with a little bit of chain wrestling, that's usually a signal to the crowd at home and in attendance. Hey, this is a match that we're actually going to build. We're going to tell the story, and we got that. Except it was a weird story. It was weird. It wasn't, and here's what CNET said, and I'll get into more detail. They said the match wasn't as explosive or as intense as I'd hoped. Lashley and Lesnar grappled, exchanging German suplexes. Then Lashley hit 2 spears on Lesnar, went for the third on the outside, but missed, crashing through the barricade in the process. We have ourselves a new champion. Of course, Reigns gets involved here. But yeah, that's exactly right. It wasn't as explosive or as intense as I had hoped. Both have had much better matches especially since Brock has been back. Both have had matches better in the last month. This was disappointing. And, I also was a little bit worried about Bobby Lashley and his ability to take a German suplex. Normally, he doesn't have to be on the receiving end, given his size, and it looks like he never had taken one in his life. I mean, he was landing on his shoulder, on his side, I mean, everywhere but flat on his back. And I think it just comes instinctually that since, he's like, I don't really take these on a regular basis. Let me just be safe rather than sorry and land on my neck and break my neck. That's the way I took it. It was a little bit of hesitation on the part of Lashley for taking German suplexes. But hey, in the last 20 years, how many German suplexes has Bobby Lashley taken outside of this match last night? The answer is probably, you could count them on one hand. So I understand the hesitation. It just looked kind of bad. But this was not as explosive as I had hoped. It was a little bit slow. It reminded me a little bit of Goldberg and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 20. Not nearly as bad. It's not in the same, universe, but it had elements of that where it's like, oh, that was kind of disappointing. You have these two titans come together and it's like, oh, that's it. Now I know that the schmaz finish they did was meant to protect Lashley and also protect Brock as Brock loses, but it was a little bit maddening. Because this to me was the biggest disappointment of the night was this matchup. And sadly, I say that I feel like I should hold a candlelight vigil. But we have this match. Bobby's champion. Now I don't know who is going to face Bobby. It could be Edge. I mean, what about Edge getting himself in the conversation for the WWE championship? Maybe. Tonight's going to be or tomorrow night. I keep saying tonight as if last night was a Sunday. Tomorrow night on Raw, it's going to be very telling to see what direction they go. Now, Paul Heyman gets involved in this matchup with him at ringside. Roman Reigns comes out and he ends up laying out Reigns. And then I think he hit a spear. And then Paul Heyman hands Roman Reigns the WWE Championship. Roman Reigns does exactly what he did at SummerSlam, clocks Brock Lesnar pretty square in the head. I mean, Brock doesn't really pull any punches here. I mean, he took a good shot. And then that allowed Bobby Lashley to get the 3 count. So Paul Heyman turns on Brock Lesnar. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is the payoff, and it's actually the payoff I had predicted, and some others did too, that it was going to be eventually Paul Heyman this is all a ruse. It was all a setup to have Brock believe that Roman is on the side, or Paul Heyman's on the side of Brock, when in reality, Paul Heyman's playing Brock, and he's still on the side of Roman Reigns. And to be fair, too, I got to say, I had a clean sweep victory over the Royal Rumble, including both winners of the Royal Rumble and every other match in the Royal Rumble, and some moments that I expected to happen, too. So this was a victory on all accounts for me. So sorry, Ashley. Sorry, but I have to take the W here. You have to take the L. But doesn't happen too often, so I gotta hang on the rim when I can. So this matchup, again, not very exciting. The biggest news was not even the quality of the match, which is, again, sad to say, but the turn of Heyman, the official turn of Heyman, which also solidifies Roman again as a heel, solidifies Heyman again as a heel. There's no question where they stand anymore. I think those that are cheering Roman will likely maybe revert back to the booing of him and straighten out his character that was going a little babyface over the last couple of months. And I even speculated on this show that they could be turning Roman babyface already. That is not where I think we're at now. I think we are fully Roman heel, and we are fully Brock Lesnar babyface, believe it or not, despite all the weird tendencies and heel promos that Brock Lesnar has cut over the last couple of months. I think we are fully established in the role of Brock babyface, Roman heel. I think it's that simple. And the Paul Heyman turn itself, I think, came a little too soon. I think the Paul Heyman turn, while I expected it at WrestleMania. I expected it at WrestleMania where Paul there's this build of something happening, and it all comes back to Paul being the one behind it, Paul being the one that was manipulating it, and just setting up Brock Lesnar for failure at WrestleMania. So, does this mean that it's one-on-one, Roman versus Brock? I don't know. There's a lot of speculation moving forward that Drew McIntyre gets involved. He was the runner-up to this year's Royal Rumble. It was a flashback to 3 years ago, except this time Brock Lesnar wins. We got Drew McIntyre also in the live events in the next few weeks in places that are across the United States. It's a triple threat: Brock and Drew and Roman Reigns in a triple threat. I mean, so are they potentially working towards that for WrestleMania? Maybe. I do wonder because, we have Drew McIntyre, who doesn't have an opponent now. He's past Happy Corbin and Madcap Moss. He's looking for an opponent. It's WrestleMania season. The fans are really going to gave him a nice reaction last night at the pay-per-view or at the Premier Live event. So it's possible we get a three-way here for the Universal Championship where we see Drew hit the Claymore on Brock, beating Brock, but also protecting Roman, saying that he never lost the championship, yet Drew is champion. Do I want that to happen? Not necessarily. If that's the matchup, I still want Roman to walk away champion and go all the way to next year's WrestleMania as champion. That's what I want. And I don't know if I'll get that. I have a feeling they're probably going to drop the belt at WrestleMania this year, and I think it'll be against Drew McIntyre in a triple threat. That's as it stands right now on January 30th, 2022. Of course, no matches are even set. There's a lot of speculation. What about returns? All these things. So we'll see. But all right, let's move on to the men's Royal Rumble event. And, this was a match that saw so many twists and turns, as most Rumbles do. And here's the description, at least some of it from CNET, just so I don't miss anything. Let's see. The Rumble started with AJ Styles and Shinsuke. That was cool. I really thought that was a nice touch. AJ got the first eliminations, ending the night for Bobby Roode, who came in at number 4, and Nakamura. A super fun moment came in about 10 minutes with the entrances of Jackass Johnny Knoxville. He came in and took down Sami Zayn before confronting AJ Styles. He landed a punch on AJ before AJ absolutely killed him with a series of punches and kicks. Montez Ford, also in the match, then hit a frog splash on Knoxville, and Sami Zayn eliminated him with a hell of a kick. They even commented here that Johnny Knoxville sure didn't want people to go easy on him. I mean, I guess. Yeah, I mean, if you have a guy that's going to, electrocute his testicles, for a paycheck, I don't think he has any problem getting a few bumps and bruises in the ring with people that aren't actually trying to hurt him. Whereas in Jackass, that's what the point is to actually try to hurt you. Wrestling is not the same. So sure, he didn't want people to go easy on him, but I don't know. I'm not a fan of celebrity involvement. We'll get to Bad Bunny. I know what you're thinking of in a minute too. Let's see here. So as it goes on, Omos played the role of Rumble Big Man, because that does have to be a role that's fulfilled. And he eliminated both of the Street Profit competitors. We had, of course, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, and as well as Damian Priest. He was eliminated, Omos, by a gang of people that included Chad Gable, Dominic, Austin Theory, Ricochet, and AJ Styles. So it took 5-6 people to finally throw him out. I'm sad that Omos never got a face-to-face with Brock Lesnar. I have to say. I predicted that, and I was wrong. But that to me was a moment in the making. Why not? You don't have to make a match out of it yet, but tease it. Why they couldn't have had Omos be the last one of the last competitors, at least to have that brief moment of, hey, this could be a match down the line. Really, to me, it was a missed opportunity. All right. Well, let's continue on here with the summary here from CNET. And let's see. After that, Madcap and Happy Corbin became the chief eliminators. They threw out AJ Styles and Rick Boogs. And I gotta say, Rick Boogs is really starting to catch on. There's something about him. I have to say that. And let's see. They met their end at Drew McIntyre coming out, who took out day one by who was taken out at day one by the pair. McIntyre eliminated both of them and then demolished them on the outside with steel steps. And then Bad Bunny came out and he had a flying crossbody on Sheamus and hit a destroyer on Riddle. Boy, Riddle has to have a whole lot of faith in somebody that doesn't wrestle to perform a move that could potentially cause paralysis if off even by the slightest amount. The margin for error and the risk for paralysis in a destroyer from somebody that does not perform on a regular basis is higher than normal. And so credit to Riddle, but boy, oh boy, you are really putting your neck literally on the line having somebody perform that maneuver that is not super experienced. But Bad Bunny continues to impress. Look, I hated Bad Bunny all last year, and I stand 100% by it. But in the ring, man, the guy, he's better than some of the people on the roster right now. I mean, he's got a little something to him, despite the fact that he's like 150 pounds. So let's see here. Moments later, Rey Mysterio hit a 619 on Dolph Ziggler, and Bad Bunny tossed him out. The hilarious part was Brock Lesnar hitting an F5 on Bad Bunny. I mean, that made me pop. I was elated at that. I mean, it was something that I could only dream about happening last year when Damian Priest was essentially his bodyguard while Bad Bunny ran his mouth. And we're supposed to cheer this for some reason. Like Brock Lesnar doing this it made me just smile, not just physically on my body, but into my soul. That was great. Shane McMahon came out. Is he the Forbidden Door? I don't know. I don't know what the hell that means. I don't even know if we got a quote-unquote Forbidden Door entry in this Rumble. I mean, we didn't get Moxley, although he was mentioned by name even on the broadcast. We didn't get Jericho. We didn't get MJF. Nobody from AEW. You know what? I respect that. And I actually, as cool as it would have been for the moment, I think the short-term benefit would have caused long-term harm for AEW and its fan base and the respect and the trust that they have, and the betrayal, I think, would have run deep from the fans' perspective. So let's see, back to the analysis. So Orton got eliminated by Brock Lesnar as well, and the hometown crowd not happy with Brock. I mean, that essentially nearly turned Brock heel. It was pretty close. And Big E, of course, comes out, and Big E was not even a thought. He wasn't even a thought. He was eliminated somewhat quickly, and he was doing all his New Day stuff. I mean, so much for Big E's singles career. He's essentially on SmackDown now, default back with Kofi, and I do wonder if Big E's still on SmackDown this week, or we have SmackDown stars on Raw this week. What's the excuse now? Well, it's Rumble season? Well, nope, that can't be working. Well, it's Chamber season? Is it WrestleMania? What's the excuse now? I do wonder. So again, Big E was not even a thought. He barely got a reaction when he came out. Big E, to me, I think he'll be in the United States Championship picture. That's what I think. Also, Owens hitting a stunner on Bad Bunny made me laugh. So Owens has really hit some stunners on some just insufferable people like Bad Bunny and Logan Paul. I mean, I got to give KO some credit here. Great booking on that part. Otis was eliminated. After they said there was a sick moment when Riddle jumped off a prone Otis's back to hit a flying RKO on McIntyre. Yeah, it was cool, but he didn't hit it perfectly, and McIntyre had to compensate and kind of land awkwardly. But I get it; it was cool. It was a cool moment. But yeah, so we had a rating of 4 stars. Very strong build to Reigns versus Lesnar at WrestleMania. And you know what? Lesnar winning, I called it, so I was also rooting for him just to be right because I have an egomaniac. But I really thought that Lesnar winning made sense because there's two roads to a championship. People can get pissed off about this all they want. Ronda, what's she doing? So the 2 MMA fighters come in. They win the Rumble on their respective matches. And to me, it's like, okay, fine. But guess what? There are 2 championships available, and there's 2 roads to the main event for both men and women. If you win the Rumble, you're guaranteed one of them. So with the women, there's 2 opportunities. With the men, there's 2. With the Rumble, out of those 4 spots, you're only filling 2 of them. So that means there are still 2 spots to go through traditional means, meaning tournaments, meaning just somebody challenging somebody, meaning somebody just declaring that they're the number 1 contender. I mean, who knows? So, but overall, I thought it was a decent Royal Rumble. I mean, if I was going to give it the whole pay-per-view out of 5 stars, I mean, I'd give it like a 3 3/4 stars. I wouldn't give it quite a 4, but not a 3. 3 3/4 out of 5 stars is what I would rate this Royal Rumble. It was good. Yeah, it was good. It was a safe pick. I know people don't want safe, but I'd rather have something that makes sense than just go off the wall for a pick that's going to make people buzz, and then you don't know what the hell to do with the pick. You just went for a short-term gain. This, to me, is thought out. It makes sense. It immediately gives Lesnar some revenge on Lesnar or on Reigns, and you know exactly who he's going to go for. Because if you think Roman Reigns is not going to be Brock's opponent and Brock's going to choose Bobby, I mean, you haven't been watching wrestling more than like 2 weeks. So it's clear, and I think Ronda Rousey, while there's a case to be made for Becky, no doubt, there is a Charlotte there that had she's had her championship for quite a while, and they've never gone one-on-one as well. So I think, given especially last night that they were the last two, it would make sense that Ronda does choose Charlotte to go to WrestleMania rather than Becky. But hey, there's always that three-way. Why don't they just recreate the WrestleMania 35 main event? I mean that extremely sarcastically. So, guys, I'm sure there's moments and things that I haven't discussed. I just wanted to get something out there. This is considered kind of the weekend review. Given the fact that we just had a SmackDown review by Michael Ritter and the pay-per-view happened, and this is a Sunday, I'm not going to be doing a full weekend review because this is kind of the de facto weekend review. So, but I know I kind of ran through this a little bit quickly, but tomorrow night, or rather Tuesday night, I'll be with a co-host discussing Raw and, of course, the Royal Rumble. Kind of a dual show, wrapping up the Rumble, putting a bow on it, and the fallout of the Rumble on Raw. And then, of course, your questions on Wednesday with all of your rants and your like, what the hell moments. All of that is going to be coming your way. So, I'm going to take a breath. You guys take a breath. Let me know what you think. Hit me up on the mailbag at mailbag@wwepodcast.com. You can still email me at my old email, but the new one is mailbag@wwepodcast.com. Consider going ad-free with us on Apple Podcast subscriptions. On Patreon, it's just $1. It gets you in the door. You also get Discord server access, all this stuff. I mean, you get a shout-out on the show. So it's something that I'd really recommend if you hate the ads. I know a lot of you do. I do too, and I'm listening to podcasts. But if you have a moment, please give us a 5-star rating and review on Spotify and or on Apple Podcasts. So that's it for me tonight, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. A lot more analysis coming, especially when I'm able to bounce ideas off of other people and have co-hosts on the show and hear their ideas and respond to them. So that's where the real fun's going to come. So we are in WrestleMania season. Here we go, guys. Thanks for listening. Take care, and I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.